Hey everyone, Mrs. Spatola here. These are the answers from yesterday's multiplying fractions. As you can see that most of the numbers have been simplified. You can simplify before you multiply, or you can simplify after you multiply. Remember, you should always be checking everything with that calculator, and you are all doing a wonderful job getting better every day with that. Here are the answers to numbers up to number 10. Pause the video, and then we will just go for the last two are right here. And there you have it. Let's take a look at dividing fractions. Unit 5, Lesson 8, Dividing Fractions and Mixed Numbers. I'm going to ask you to pause the video and write down what you see at the top of the page. When you see a division sign with fractions, you must flip and multiply. That statement will become more clear by the end of the lesson. Okay, let's get going. How can you divide fractions and mixed numbers? Our do now for today is a question that asks us, what is a reciprocal? A reciprocal. You may have heard this in the past in math class. A reciprocal is when you have a fraction and it is inverted so that you can get an answer when you multiply two fractions of 1. So for example, if I had the fraction 4/5, the reciprocal of 4/5 would be 5/4. Okay? It's a technical term, so watch. If I multiplied these two fractions, what do I come up with? I come up with 20/20, and that's always equal to 1. So for our purposes, and copy this down, what is a reciprocal? When a fraction is inverted or flipped. It's seen in division of fractions. And you're going to see, you're going to hear that language a lot during the course of this lesson. If we look over to the right, we have a little division phrase here. Dividing fractions is as easy as pie. Flip the fraction, then multiply. And don't forget to simplify before it's time to say goodbye. Pretty bad rap, right? Hopefully you watched the other video that was included in today's Google Classroom, a little on the silly side. Mrs. Gelderman would absolutely love it. She didn't see that one yet, but she would absolutely love that one too. All right, let's get into the directions for dividing fractions. Just like yesterday, we're going to have 4 different categories, and let's take a look at the first one. So our first one is dividing a fraction by a fraction. Very similar to yesterday. So basically what we're going to do is now you're going to hear these terms a lot during this lesson, keep, change, flip. Math people don't really like that terminology too much, but it's the easiest way for us to understand without using a calculator how to divide fractions. So our first example here, and here are the directions. The directions are written right here, so you can always look through the directions and it's clear. It's your little math recipe. So the first thing you're going to do is write your original division problem. You're going to, let's look at the example here. The example is 1/3 divided by 1/2. My suggestion is to look at this problem here. I always do this, KCF. Keep, change, flip. So what exactly does that mean? It means to keep the first fraction the same, 1/3. Change the division sign to multiplication, and then flip the divisor to its reciprocal. So instead of 1/2, you're going to use 2/1. And then you can continue multiplying fractions as usual. So anytime you see division, you have to flip and change, or change and flip. Keep, change, flip. If you do that for every problem, you're in good shape. But guess what the biggest mistake that kids make? They start flipping everything and changing everything. So you really have to be on your toes, and you really have to pay attention to what you're doing with the multiplication and division of fractions. All right, let's finish this one up. 1/3 times 2/1. Final answer is 2/3. And we are done. Let's look at the next one. The next category, ready? The next one is going to be dividing a whole number by a fraction. Well, yesterday we saw that anytime you have a whole number, if you want to multiply, if you're multiplying fractions and you're multiplying with the whole number, you have to change that whole number to a fraction. Well, how do we change any whole number to a fraction? We simply put it over 1. So we're going to do the same thing here. So let's go. 4 divided by 1/4. You're always going to have to rewrite these, boys and girls. When you are dividing with fractions, you're always going to have to rewrite. My suggestion, K, C, F, keep, change, flip. 4 divided by 1/4. So the first thing I want to do is change this into a fraction, so I put it over 1. So I'm going to rewrite now. 4 over 1. The first fraction stays exactly the same. I change my division sign to a multiplication sign. And then I flip the fraction to its reciprocal. So instead of 1/4, I'm going to make it 4 over 1. And guess what? I'm ready to roll. So now I'm going to multiply the numerators, which is 16, multiply the denominators, which is 1, and my final answer is 16. So 4 divided by 1/4 is going to be 16. Moving on to the next page, dividing a mixed number by a whole number. Divide fractions. Again, keep, change, flip. Very similar to what we did yesterday with multiplying in terms of changing a mixed number to an improper fraction. And if you have a whole number, putting it over 1. The only difference is when you see that division, a little bell has to go off in your brain telling you, I can't divide fractions. I have to multiply by the reciprocal. Try to use that language. We'll be listening for that in class. I want to multiply by the reciprocal. So when you're dividing fractions, you're going to write the whole number as a fraction by putting it over 1. You're going to convert or change your mixed number to improper. Keep the dividend the same, the first number. Change the division sign to multiplication and flip the divisor to its reciprocal. Please use the language. And remember, then you can cross-simplify the diagonals if you can. Multiply the numerators, then the denominators, and change all improper fractions back to mixed numbers. Here are all the steps you need. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. 1 3/4 divided by 4. Now I'm looking at this saying, oh boy, I can tell that 4 is going to be bigger, but I'm dividing 1 3/4 into 4 parts. Well, how can I actually do that? Well, mathematically speaking, we are going to change and flip, which means multiplying by the reciprocal. So here we go. Keep, change, flip. Ready? Here we go. I'm going to change this to an improper fraction. So 4 times 1 is 4 plus 3 is 7 over 4 times, now, this fraction is 4 over 1. So before I do anything, I have to make sure I put it over 1. Now I'm going to flip 4 over 1 to what? Good. 1 over 4. Now I can simply go ahead, multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators, and I am finished. And my answer is 7/8. Okay? Let's look at the last category, and then you're going to be doing some independent practice. The last type of problem you'll encounter is dividing mixed numbers by mixed numbers. Again, dividing fractions, keep, change, flip. So the first thing you're going to do is convert or change your mixed numbers to improper fractions. Keep the dividend the same, change the division sign to multiplication, and flip the divisor to its reciprocal. Cross-simplify the diagonals if you can, multiply the numerators, then the denominators, change all the improper back to mixed numbers, okay? Ready? Let's go. So the first thing, again, I like to do this even still as a grown-up. I do this all the time. I see the division, and I go keep, change, flip, K, C, F. I always just write it above. 4 3/4 becomes as an improper fraction. I know my denominator is 4. What's my numerator? And if you want, try this problem. Pause the video. Try it on your own. Try it. See how well you do by yourself. Okay? So 4 times 4 is 16 plus 3 is 19 over 4. That's my keep. Change. Now, watch what I do here. I am going to flip this, but watch what I do. I am going to multiply. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1 is 17. So that's 17 over 8. So now I want to flip 17 over 8. I write it out here first, so that becomes 8 over 17. Now I'm ready to roll. So I see that I can cross simplify. Not a lot of cross simplifying in these examples. What is the common factor of 4 and 8? It's 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. I multiply across the numerators. 19 times 2 is 38. 1 times 17 is 17. And I go ahead and I do the division. 38 divided by 17 gets me a final answer of 2 and 4 over 17. Hopefully you got that. Okay, lastly, you have 2 problems at the bottom. So I'm going to ask you at this time, pause the video, try these 2 on your own, and then I'll show you the answers. But please try it on your own. And remember, K, C, F, K, C, F. Okay, pause the video, give it a try. And here are the answers to the last 2. Hopefully you did well. All right, next page is homework, and that's it. This page here is your homework. You're going to complete them all. Don't forget to keep, change, flip. This is Mrs. Spatola wishing you a great day. And remember, always, always be kind. Oh, and remember, most importantly, hockey's back. Yay!